Well, good day. Welcome to another episode of Rob Report. I'm your humble host, Robert Bob TV Brown. We got a lot to talk about today. Oh boy, there's a lot of ruckus going on about a certain presidential candidate who did the same thing another presidential candidate did back in 2016.
No group in America has been more harmed by Hillary Clinton's policies than African Americans. No group. No group. If Hillary Clinton's goal was to inflict pain on the African American community, she could not have done a better job. It's a disgrace. Tonight, I'm asking for the vote of every single African American citizen in this country who wants to see a better future. Look how much African American communities have suffered under Democratic control. To those I say the following: what do you have to lose by trying something new like Trump? What do you have to lose? I say it again, what do you have to lose? Look, what do you have to lose? You're living in poverty. Your schools are no good. You have no jobs. 58% of your youth is unemployed. What the hell do you have to lose? America must reject the bigotry of Hillary Clinton, who sees communities of color only as votes, not as human beings worthy of a better future.
That was the worst thing Trump could ever say. Him having a black agenda was not the worst thing, but him saying, here's my agenda, which the agenda wasn't all that hot. What the heck do you got to lose if you vote for Trump? What the heck you got to lose? I'm going to try to hold my cool because I know too much about both of these presidents that the average black person don't know about both of these presidents. And we're being put, well, not we, but most of you guys are being pushed in a position of voting for the less of two evils again. And this country will never go far when we continue that cycle. That is the very cycle that got us Trump in the first place. Now we're going to look at an interview, and we're going to go over the entire interview. I can't go over it all for the sake of copyright with the Breakfast Club. And then after we watch that interview and deal with Joe Biden and his so-called slip up, you know, there's a scripture in the Bible says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speak. Joe Biden has a habit. Remember that time when Joe Biden said, we're going to put y'all back in chains? Or they going to put y'all back in chain? How come when these white presidential candidates, especially on the Democratic side, always want to get around black people and start using y'all? Had Hillary Clinton singing James Cleveland like she really listened to James Cleveland. And the same thing happened with Bush and you know, all the presidents on both tried to get some parts of the black vote. So they got appeased to us. But what happened today was disgusting, because to voters shame black people because they may not vote for you is ignorance on your part. You definitely going to lose some votes doing that. Your job is to sell yourself to the black community and not halfway sell yourself. And today, Joe Biden sold himself while Charlemagne God tried to press him about what are you going to do for the black community. Then he's going to go, let's just get into it. I'm not going to go all the way in there. But we're going to go and get into this whole breakfast, not all of it, but the Breakfast Club interview with Charlemagne the God. We're going to be stopping and pausing. I'm going to be making my comment. You know how this do. This is not a normal Rob report. This is something that we got to deal with. These arrogant white presidential candidates think they got some black creds because they got some black politicians that support them. And they'll assume, since I got all these black people that support me, you need to support me too. No, there's no you need for any of you presidential candidates. What you need to do is do whatever you can to sell yourself to us. Touting what you did in the past does not guarantee you a victory this election. You need to tout about what you're going to do now and in the future. He didn't want to do that. And you're going to see this in this interview too. Now, like I said, I was breaking, man, I was biting my tongue. I'm like, you're not listening to the guy. Now, don't get me wrong either. Charlamagne God, as a person, is a good guy, but when it comes to media, he's another suck up like the rest of them. He takes sides. He's, at the end of the day, he's going to support the Democrats. And at the end of the day, I'm not supporting neither one of them. That's not going to support you. Any politician, I don't care if they're red, blue, white, green, they're really going to be taking care of you or having your back. I'm supporting them. I don't support parties. I support the individual person running that may be in a party. I never look at your party that you're running in. I'm looking dead eye at you. I'm looking dead eye at your record. And if I can see you in person, I'm looking dead eye in your face and I'm going to ask you some questions. And if I know you're full of BS, I'm going to call you out on your BS like I did the great John Lewis. I hope John Lewis have a speedy recovery on his cancer efforts. And look, I appreciate the fight that John Lewis did as a young man fighting for civil rights. But lately, as he got in his older years as a member of the CBC, he went out and supported a woman who cheated in the primaries, the election down in Florida. He went out and supported her after she was ousted out for rigging the 2016 primaries. He went and supported her and campaigned for her when he should have been denouncing her and outcasting her. It's one thing to be a civil rights icon. You deserve that credit for that time. But too many of our civil rights icon end up becoming a civil rights con in our eyes when you look at their record of voting, a con artist. Once they get there, they forget who they are. They try to use that as a brace to continue to stay in position. But you never see them do anything. Me and the guy was going toe to toe on another black Facebook group when I called out James Clyburn. And then he got mad talking about a civil rights icon. I asked him, what did the civil rights icon do that you suggest lift up civil rights? And what have he done for your black community? And what have he done for you? He could not name it. Thus, I won the conversation. I don't make these conversations to win. I want to open your eyes. I don't want you to be blind when you keep blindly supporting these people. My whole purpose, majority of the time, is to make you uncomfortable with your vote. You can vote. I don't control who you vote for. But I don't feel comfortable letting you know that you're just going to slide and vote and not know who this guy is. It's one of my big pet peeves right now is people are doing things without getting the information to see if it's true, without really educating yourself on this or that. I was running my mouth about the shooting in Atlanta, and I got a little more information. Guess what I'm going to do? I heard the information. I'm going to take it and I'm going to study and find out if it's true. And that's how black people need to be. We need to get the information to find out it's true. Now, this guy has a history of racial legislation, of camping with and fellowshipping with and visiting with and spending quality time with racists. And if it wasn't for Barack Obama, that's why I give Barack Obama his credit. By rehabilitating this bigot and making them look like he's a friend of black people. But even as a friend of Obama, that don't constitute you as a friend of black people. Your record mean everything. What have you done for the black community? And that is what Charlamagne God, the God, tried to ask in this Breakfast Club interview. He asked, what have you done and what are you going to do? And as you see in this interview, Joe Biden tried to blow off all those questions, and all he wants us to do is accept him for his past and not push him for what he's going to do in the present. Watch this interview. We're going to go through this together, okay?
Good to see you.
Same here. I've been critical of you. I have a few things I want to talk to you about.
I know you have. Yeah. You don't know me.
No, I don't. That's why I want to get to know you today. I want to talk to you about mostly black stuff. But, first of all, how are you? How's your family during this quarantine?
Thank God everybody's doing well. How about you and your family?
Man, we over here blessed, black, and highly favored, man.
Well, I tell you what, the black community is getting killed, though.
That is very, very true.
Now, immediately Joe Biden goes into pandering about the black community and how the black community is getting killed. Now, we're going to go into detail about where he's going to go with this. Every politician likes to talk about the sufferings of the black community, but when you look at their record, you don't see what they've done to this point. Whether as VP, whether as senator, whether they're governor, what have you done? Don't complain about a community and you did nothing to help. Now, I'm not the most powerful person in the world, but wherever people are hurting, if I feel like I can help, I go help. Let me keep going.
Very true. You know, it's a lot of right-wing media outlets. They question you. They question your cognitive health. They don't think everything's working upstairs. What do you say to that?
I say I can hardly wait to meet with that guy who is the stable genius.
Now let me stop there. Charlemagne the God. It is not only the right-wing media that thinks that way. It's the left that thinks that way too. Especially people who can actually see that he does have a cognitive decline. Trump has one too. It happens that way when you get older, and a young person can get cognitive decline. I got an uncle, unfortunately the family had to take the car keys from him, and he got mad at the entire family because they're not going to let that dude drive. The last time he drove, he almost hit a tree. His time for driving is done. He got to be driven around. And it's okay. You did your driving, Unc. Let us drive for you, so you don't kill nobody.
There's nothing stable about that guy. One thing I've been critical about is I feel like you've been like MIA during this global pandemic. It's people like Governor Cuomo here in New York who have become political stars simply because we see and hear from them every day. So I'm just like, I'm wondering how you're going to energize people and win a campaign from the House.
Well, I tell you what, I'm following the rules, man. True. Number one, I'm keeping the rules. My governor says he doesn't want us out. I haven't been out. I wear my mask. I have a mask. I got Secret Service outside. I walk outside. I have it on. They get tested. And by the way, I'm beating them across the board. Mm-hmm. Over 160 million people have watched me so far on shows like yours.
Okay.
All the stuff about it hurting me. It's not hurting me. I'm winning in all those states. I'm ahead in all the national polls. And
now Joe Biden has gone into Hillary Clinton mode, talking about how I'm winning and I'm beating in all the polls. That's one of the worst mistakes as a politician you can do is embrace how you beating somebody and how you doing in the polls. My mom told me even if you're winning, you got to fight like you losing. Don't let nobody know. You keep going, man, because you're getting arrogant and cocky now. And he's not being in every poll. And you got to look at what poll he's looking at. Anytime you do an MSNBC, NBC, AP poll or something like that, it leans toward the left. Anytime you do a Fox poll or a Breitbart poll, it's going to lean to the right. You got to look at who's doing the polls because they're skewed most of the time. And you got to understand the polls had Hillary Clinton killing Donald Trump in 2016. Yet he beat her in all the Rust Belt states. And they want to blame everything but her when she sent everybody but herself to the Rust State to talk to those people. Let's keep going.
The more he talks, the better off I am.
The more you talk, man, the better off. See, this the thing about it. We got two old white people, old white men. Nothing against my white brothers and sisters that's older. But you got two old white men who has a history of bigot records, running their mouth on women. Yeah, Joe Biden has one too. He has some too. And always puffing about what they've done, but none of it done anything for the people that matters. Joe Biden has a record a mile long taking care of conservatives in Wall Street. And Donald Trump has a business record of taking care of conservatives and moderates and lefties in Wall Street.
Yeah, we know polls can be illusions though. Like, we looked at all the polls in 2016 too, and look what happened.
Totally.
I'm glad Charlemagne look, Charlemagne said it right. Said the same thing I just said. You got to stop looking at the polls. The polls show Hillary Clinton was killing Trump. But then all of a sudden, it was a bad night that night.
Different, man. 2016 is totally different.
So Charlemagne, this is where you push back. He said 2016 is totally different. A poll is a poll. What make a poll from 2016 different from a poll from 2020, Joe Biden?
What you had then is you had somebody who didn't know it all. They wanted to just change the system the way it was. He was the biggest change. He had no serious opposition that turned out to materialize. And so it's totally different. Right now, we're in a situation where it's like, that Carney show goes through town once and you find out there's no pee under any one of those 3 shells that get pushed around. Mm-hmm. Next time it comes back, what do? Next time it comes back, you ain't playing. You got to figure it out. Okay. And let me tell you something. My community's figured it out a while ago. But here's the deal. What I have to do is I have to continue to talk about the things that matter. And the things that matter are, for example, right now there's a study out of Columbia University and the Disease Control Center up there. They pointed out that if he had listened to me and others and acted just 1 week earlier to deal with this virus, there'd be 36,000 fewer people dead.
All right, so let's stop right there. Now, he wants to jump in as if he gave advice about what to do at the beginning of this pandemic. Joe Biden was nowhere near around. He was still in campaign mode, hiding from Bernie Sanders at the time. And if it wasn't for the coalescing of the entire Democratic establishment, including Obama, rallying everybody to push up and support Joe before the South Carolina primaries, he wouldn't be in the position that he is in. Now, you got to understand, you go back, remember the articles where Obama said, well, if it looked like Bernie Sanders was going to take it, I'm going to get involved. Exactly what he did. You remember, the number one goal of the Democratic Party was not to stop Trump first. The number one goal was to stop Bernie Sanders. And they did it. Now they're in second mode, to stop Trump. He had nothing to say about the doggone pandemic. Show it to me. Anybody who's on here, show me a video or article of Biden trying to give advice on what to do in the pandemic. Leave it here. Now, Trump has his fault. But like I was telling a good friend of mine today, stop making it seem like that guy's all powerful. He can't do anything most of the time without the House and Senate. The House and Senate has their role to play too. The Democratic controlled House and the Republican controlled Senate has a part in play on taking action in America. The president can't do anything himself without an executive order. And even an executive order can be overridden. And even a bill. So I blame him and I blame the rest of them. Now, going forward, who's to blame now? All of them are. All of them are. And I talked about that recently because they want to play games about treatment and all that concerning this mess and opening the town up and open up the beaches and all that. And we can't, it's just too much BS and bull crap going on. They want to make a sickness political. So instead of trying to figure out what we need to do to maintain this, manage this until we get a vaccine, we want to beat upside each other's head and find out who is at fault. This ain't the time to find out who at fault. You all are at fault. All of you are at fault. Democratic and Republicans are at fault. You're at fault with this stimulus package. You're at fault with trying to take care of the people that's out of work. You all are at fault. Let's keep going.
Dead. They pointed out that if he had listened to me and others and acted just 1 week earlier to deal with this virus, there'd be 36,000 fewer people dead. Bring
the talk. You are dead. You are dead. I've waited my whole life for this. I am going to bring TikTok back. Yes. Dead and alive. He messed with you. He messing with me. That nigga is dead. D-U-D, boss.
And you guys are wondering what's he doing? Come on, man. Get a life.
See, this is what you're going to have to deal with. condescending, and you guys trying to wonder what's going on. Come on, man, get a life.
Get a life. This guy has been incredibly terrible. And what we've had is, back in January, I wrote an article back, I think, the 27th of January, said this pandemic's here. We should act. Every other country that was.
Now, guys, if you on there, if you can find that article that he claimed that he wrote saying that the pandemic is here and what we need to do, please show me that article. Okay? Because you know me, when I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I can admit I was wrong. I may not change my views, but I can admit I'm wrong. But then again, I can admit at the end of the day, I don't support bigot, racist liars with rape allegations. I just don't.
Acted around the time, got the notice around the time we did. They have considerably fewer deaths as a percent of the population.
Now, look, here's the deal. All right, as Secretary of State, as VP, as President, former and present, you have relationships with governments, whether you're in office or not. So why try to put this on just one government? Why put this on one legislator? Yeah, they do have their fault and they are at fault, but for you to act like that you were powerless and you had nothing to do with it either is asinine. And you know what asinine mean? Just say it slow.
I'm the guy that said we ought to take hard records and find out exactly how many people in the black community are getting COVID and are dying from it.
He is outright lying right now. Nobody demanded a record on how many black people are getting killed with this virus. Nobody demanded. The study came out. And you know how I feel about these studies. Anytime when something negative goes on in the world, they want to put the blame on black people. They want to make sure the black people are the ones to make us look weak, to make us look inferior. White people are catching COVID just as bad as blacks. It just, it's not in an accumulated area. Like, for an example, the Bronx is getting it pretty hard because we're an accumulated area of blacks, Latinos, and you name it. But they trying to make it seem like white people are so golden that they don't get it just as bad as blacks. Yes, they do. But that's what white supremacy do. White supremacy is always trying to make it seem like you blacks got it harder than us whites. Yeah, we do in some areas, but not all areas. I don't understand how you think a Chinese disease that came through Europe, which is mostly whites, come into America and it predominantly devastate more blacks than anybody. That don't even add up. But that's a white supremacy ploy. Let's keep going.
And look what's happened. Now everybody's going, oh, surprise, surprise. Look, everybody knows this. We have to come back. We have to fight back. And, the crisis is laying bare the institutional racism that's still prevalent in our society. And I believe we have to address it by transforming our economy and this time bringing everybody along. And we haven't. Look, he started to undermine the pillars of his economy before. The blinders, Charlemagne, in my view, have been taken off. Okay. Now people recognize that those essential workers, a disproportionate amount of them are African Americans, and they're breaking their necks, risking their lives, losing their lives. They're grocery store workers, they're bus drivers, they're delivery people, they're the people who are on the line.
Say something that most people don't know,
They're
Joe.
The healthcare workers who are in a position where they're taking care of the nurses. I mean, and they're making basically the minimum wage. So this time when we come back, we had to not only rebuild.
You got to say something that most people don't know. These are things that we know. And for 40 years, the government, whether it's Democrats in charge or Republicans in charge, did nothing to fix that. So I'm so sick and tired of them explaining the same old mess. It's just like, I love going to church. I really do. But I lean toward teaching ministries. Why? Because I'm there to learn. I'm not here to hear the same old, and they rolled a stone away. I know that, bruh. And he rose from the grave. I know that, bruh. I appreciate that, bruh. I don't need to hear that every Sunday. Tell me how to take this Bible to make my life better. Because that ain't the only thing that is about this Bible. You're talking about certain passages. It's not the whole entire Bible. Because if you keep preaching that, I wouldn't have never known Psalms 91. He who dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High. I wouldn't have known that by Jesus' stripes he was healed. Because all you talked about was on that day, on that third day, every freaking Sunday, on that third day. I know that, bruh. I appreciate that. I thank God for it. But there's more to Christianity than on that third day. So when you're going around talking about the same old in politics that was said 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, and you have not fixed it even when you were in charge. But let me keep going. Nothing's being said that's new here. What are you going to do as president to make drastic change in the black community?
Move this along. We not only rebuild, but we have to transform this economy. We can create millions of new jobs in transportation, energy structure. All
right, so you said we can create millions of jobs in transportation and infrastructure. All right, so tell us your plan, because you're running for office. Tell us your plan. Even though he's not running right now, he ceased his campaign too freaking early. Tell us he had a plan on what he's going to do for us, fixing the infrastructure, dealing with jobs. What is your plan? Let me see if he's going to say something.
Jobs, a job is a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. It's about respect. It's about how you're treated. And that's how we built from the working class to the middle class. But this time we have to address the institutional racism. We've seen it more.
All right, so here we go. We have to address the institutional racism. Really, dude? The man who passed so many policies from the time as a state legislator in Delaware to the moment that Barack Obama chose him as president, not only participated with other Republicans in developing racist policies, but sometimes he thought Republicans were weak on certain policies, and he outdid the Republicans. And it said Ronald Reagan was weak on crime. Ronald Reagan was weak on the drug war. So he came up with policies that would make a Republican look like a punk. We're going to go over that soon, because guess what I got? I got the record. And then he's going to talk about institutional racism. Bruh, you built that institutional racism from the ground up. Brick by brick by brick. On your policies. Now, you got to understand, these policies are not going away. They're still in effect. The crime bill has not changed. The drug bill has not changed. The welfare reform has not changed. None of these things have changed. They're still in effect today. The reason cops feel so free to do whatever they want to black people is because back in 1993, when Joe Biden came up with that crime bill, it incentivized them to do what they want to do to black people in the name of looking for drug dealers. Where do you think stop and frisk came from? It was an incentive for New York State and other states to stop you and check you for drugs. All that stuff came back. We'll get into that. Let me let Charlemagne finish.
Clearly now, in a black majority county, they're 6 times more likely to die in the pandemic than a white county. They're disproportionately uninsured in the African American community, disproportionately make up the essential jobs that they can't do at home. They're risking their lives every day. Enough's enough. And this Biden recovery I'm going to put together will bring everybody along. We're going to build a better future, not back to what we had, but back to something better than we had.
All right. So since you said that, if I was Charlemagne the God, I would say, since you brought up the Biden recovery plan, explain that to me, what that is. And then we might dig into a little more. Tell me what the Biden recovery plan is. Let's see if Charlemagne is going to ask that question.
I'm glad to hear you say that. I don't know if you saw a couple weeks ago, Sean Combs. You might know him as Diddy.
He didn't ask. He didn't ask him. He went right away to Puff Daddy. I don't give a crap what Puff Daddy got to say. I've been on this. Look, you need until you start doing something for the black community, you shouldn't expect us to vote. My whole thing is black people should not attach themselves to any party, because if you attach yourself to a party, they figure they got you. It's like being in a marriage. You get married, that man think he got you now, and you got to work hard to prove that he got you. And if he is not doing you right, what you gonna do? The only thing you got is to leave. But if he want to cheat on you, he can cheat on you until you leave, or her. No, you got to earn. You got to prove yourself. But the moment you show allegiance, the moment you begin to show your numbers in a particular party or in a particular group, they figure they got you. They figure they don't have to earn your vote. They figure they don't have to do nothing for you. But I'm on the team of Malcolm X that say, no, everybody become independent. And now when they ask for your vote, you give them something and tell them you implement that and I'll vote for you. That's how Dr. King did it. These are the policies the black community demand you to give us. Other than that, you're not getting our vote. And at that time, Martin Luther King was a Republican. Now, Malcolm X said, become an independent, have your black agenda. And when that politician come asking for your vote, which they should be doing, they should not be assuming they're going to get your vote. They should be asking for your vote and proving themselves to work hard to earn it by answering your needs.
Yeah. He said what I believe a lot of black voters, including myself, feel, and that's that Democrats take black voters for granted. Votes are quid pro quo, right? It's not like I don't want to vote. I just want to know what candidates will do for us in exchange for our votes. The same way young progressive Latinos or the LGBT community.
Absolutely.
And I believe that. See, I'm glad that people are starting to wake up to a position that I've been at 5 years. Almost 10 years. I think I was at that position since 2016. No, 2012. 2012. Because I worked on the Obama campaign. And I worked hard. And he had these things that he was going to do for the black community and young people and all that kind of stuff. A list of things. And people voted on those things. But when he got in office, first year he didn't do none of those things. We could have had universal health care right now, but he wanted to come up with a policy that appeased to both Republicans and Democrats. The ACA, what they call Obamacare, is nothing but Mitt Romney care that's gone national. It's Mitt Romney's plan that he developed because he wanted to appease Republicans and Democrats. He wanted to seem like he's working on both sides of the aisle instead of just saying we got the majority. We're going to give people, everybody going to get medical help, and they ain't got to worry about coming out their pocket. And then in 2012, he started kissing Wall Street behind. He tried to tell black people, say, look, you vote me in? Look here, Pookie. You vote us in 2012. I'm going to do whatever I can for the black community. And nothing happened. Nothing. We voted him in high numbers and nothing again. Well, when I get out of office, I'm going to do more for the black community. Well, if you go to Obama for America, you can see some things that he's doing for the black community, but it's only mainly in Chicago. It's not national. Guys, I keep up on this stuff, because I want these people to do what we put them in office to do. I don't care about who you represent. I care about you. What you gonna do? And we're going to get back into this. Now, Charlemagne, the God has come to that conclusion. Look, why should we give you our vote when you're not going to do anything when we put you in office? We're putting you in office to represent our community. And if our community is not being represented by you, then why should you be in office? And when we mean by representation, policies being implemented in behalf of doing right by the community, that you represent. But let's keep going.
We want the same thing. Do you feel like black people are owed that from the Democratic Party?
Absolutely, Bob. What did I say? Remember when they said Biden can't win the primaries?
Yes.
I kicked everybody's out. Excuse me.
No, talk like that. I need you to say that. You did what?
No, I won overwhelmingly. I told you when I got to South Carolina, I won every single county. I won a larger.
You won every single county with the help of James Clyburn in a state that Democrats don't win. When is the last time Democrats won South Carolina? When's the last time Democrats won Alabama and Georgia in a national race?
Share of the black vote than anybody has, including Barack. I increased the vote in Virginia overwhelmingly by 70%.
Now he's bragging that he got more black votes than anybody got, including Barack Obama. You want to know why that is? It's because we fear-mongered black. We don't whip them up to be so scared of freaking Trump that they're getting out in huge numbers to vote for you in a primary.
Look, what people don't know about me is I come from a state that's the 8th largest black population in America. The 8th largest. I get 96% of that vote for the last 40 years. They're the folks, as they say it my way, brung me to the dance.
Well, if you stay in the 8th largest state with black people, and black people keep voting you in high numbers, Joe, what is your record of things that you've done for them in the state? How much money you got to the state on behalf of the black community? How money from the state that you've gotten for community hospitals, clinics, education, whether it's brick and mortar education or online education? What have you done? Have you bought free online internet to the community? What have you done?
That's how I get elected every single time. And everybody's shocked. I get overwhelming support from the black leadership, young and old. Every poll shows me way ahead. And it's not just, I hear this, oh yeah, old blacks are with Biden, but youngs aren't. Look at the polling data. Polling data, let's say it's off by half. Come on, man. Give me a little break here.
All right. Come on, man. Give me a little break here. All right. So you mentioned where you're winning with black people. Okay. Congratulations. Now, since black people keep putting you over the top, what is your record of rewarding those black people for helping you win? See, Charlamagne, you're doing a whole lot better than what you normally do. And this is one of the reasons why I don't do interviews. I've been, for a little small guy who don't, little channel, I've been offered to do interview with people. And oftentimes I prep them for the interview. I give them the questions ahead of time so they can be prepared for the questions. Because I don't want nobody off guard. They can't handle the questions that I'm going to ask them. See, Charlamagne get paid big money to ask tough questions. He asking softball questions. He have no rebuttals for the question. He don't interject a sub question in there, because the next sub question, to me, is okay. You're touting how you're winning and how the black community keep causing you to win in huge numbers. What have you given them in return? Remember, they're putting you in office to represent them. So as their representation, what are you doing for them? Maybe he's going to say it in the next 5 seconds.
This is where I come from. I got involved. I came home from college and I had a job with a...
You see how he just deflected Charlamagne God from answering the question. Politicians, all of them do this. White, right, left, black, white, Democrat, Republican, green, independent. It doesn't matter. If you're running for office, your number one job is you got to know how to deflect the question if you can't handle it. Now he's talking about going back to his swimming pool days.
Really fancy law firm out of law school.
No, a fancy law firm out of law firm that he worked for.
And my city is the only city in America occupied by the National Guard, the military, for 10 months when Dr. King was shot. And
all right, so when Bernie Sanders mentioned Dr. King, some black people get upset, and he's actually fought for civil rights. He have a record. We have arrest records. We have pictures of him as a college student fighting for housing rights for black people, chained himself to a black woman. Joe Biden talked about his record. You don't have nothing to back it up. Now he said about the his state having the National Guard and Dr. Martin Luther King. Okay, this is so long ago. Since we're not going to talk about Bernie Sanders' past, why are we talking about your past? What your past got to do with this? We're talking about you running for office. What are you going to do now?
I got involved. I came home from college and I had a job with a really fancy law firm out of law school. And my city is the only city in America occupied by the National Guard, the military, for 10 months when Dr. King was shot. And I had this fancy job, a kid coming from a lower middle income household. I quit and became a public defender. And I stayed in that community. I was the only guy when I was in high school. I had a job, a country club kind of job at a swimming pool. I was the only white employee in the East Side because I wanted to work in the project.
Did he say country club? And then he turned around and say at a swimming pool? Now we know he worked at a swimming pool. So he's trying to say, well, back then I left, I worked as a attorney. Then I worked as a swimming pool in high school.
Because I wanted to understand. That's how I got involved.
Because he wanted to understand how black people operate. That's how he got involved with the civil rights movement. That's how he got involved. He became a lifeguard at a swimming pool with a bunch of black people. So that's how he got involved with the black civil rights movement. And when Dr. King got shot and they sent the National Guard, he stepped down from his position as an attorney in a law firm to become an attorney doing something else. Okay, is that it, Joe? Is that all you got?
Politics. That's what this is all about for me.
That's what it's all about for you, Joe. But the question, Charlemagne the God, is, what are you going to do now? That's the question you ask everybody running for office. Everybody. You want my vote? What are you going to do? It's a business deal. Malcolm X, all of them taught us that. Marcus Garvey, all of us taught us that. In order to get power, you got to make a demand, or you're not going to get anything. Frederick Douglass said that. And now I'm glad black brothers and sisters are starting to say, look, y'all been taking advantage of our vote for so many years. And now you think you're going to take advantage of our vote because we so freaking scared of Trump. We've been dealing with Trumps all our lives. Now, don't get me wrong. He's a disaster. But what make you think you're a better disaster because you was the VP, Barack Obama? Well, Barack Obama was smart enough to pick him. No, Barack Obama was advised to pick Joe because Barack Obama could not win those Rust Belts without a white man by his side. Because nobody was going to go with the white woman by his side. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. That's the way some people think, especially in the Midwest, especially in the Rust Belt. Besides, honestly speaking, nobody thought Barack Obama would do 8 years because we still got a racist society. That's why they put a white man behind him. It's not his pick. It was the best pick for him, but it's not his pick. If you go back to the beginning of the campaign in 2008, Joe Biden was what they call bright boying Barack Obama. You know what I mean by bright boy. You ever watch the Django Unchained and you hear Calvin Candy talk about the Django as being a bright boy, that 1 in 1,000 or 10,000 special Negro? Yeah, Joe Biden was doing that in 2008. I did a video about that. You can go look in my playbook playlist, and you will see Joe Biden, bright boy Barack Obama, and you'll hear everything that he was saying. Not understanding that there was bright black people way before Obama. You discount Shirley Chisholm. I mean, there's so many people that you discount. So again, in this segment right here, Charlamagne and God said, look, I'm telling you now, you might have a lot of black votes, but there's some of us not going to vote for you unless you tell us what you're going to do for us. You got to understand, once a certain percentage get cut off your base, it don't matter what the polls got to say. You still can lose. So he applied that pressure on Biden, but he need to come up with the follow-up question. Okay, since you did all this stuff and black people been putting you over in 90% for 40 years, tell me some of the things that you've done to say thank you.
It's about equality. It's about dignity. It's about treating people with respect. And so, when you take a look at my record, people talk about the crime bill.
All right, so he say we'll take a look at the record. So he's going to go to his most racist record of all, the crime bill, where he incentivized cities and states to do whatever the heck they want to black kids who he called super predator. The super predator statement didn't come from Hillary Clinton. She just took it. It came from him. Now, if you go in my playlist, you'll see the videos of Joe Biden talking about black kids, black youth, demonizing us as the worst thing in the world, not knowing white youth were going through the same thing, selling the same type of drugs, getting lesser sentence. But the only difference was we had to deal with crack cocaine. They dealt with powder cocaine. And Joe Biden put in the legislation that if you get caught, you're white and you get caught with powder cocaine, your sentences is almost 99% lighter than the sentence of a black man. You got 1 year, the black man got 10 years.
Crime bill didn't increase mass incarceration. Other things increased mass incarceration. And the reason why, if you go back and look, and I know you talk about it, you go back and take a look. That's why you had the vast majority of the Black Caucus at the time supporting the crime bill.
And that's true. Joe Biden is right on that. The Black Caucus did support the crime bill. Why? Because the Black Caucus couldn't get that funding from the top of the DNC, from the Democratic National Committee until they supported it. They needed money to keep their seats. And that was the same reason why most of these people in elections do what they don't want to do in the Senate, because they know they cannot. That's how much power these political parties have over you. If you don't vote this way, you're not going to get funding for us. Where are you going to get your money from? We'll cut off the high dollar donors. Remember where those donors came from? Those donors came from us, the party. They do it on both sides. And look, just because you got black people in the Congressional Black Caucus, half of them guys selling us out too. Half of them. We putting them in office and they're not doing right by us. And they figure we have no other choice but to put them right back into the office. But that is changing. That is changing.
Almost every major city black mayor supported the crime bill, because blacks were getting killed overwhelmingly as well. And what happened when that crime bill? It had 4 or 5 really important things. It had the Violence Against Women Act. It said drug court, don't send anybody who has a drug problem to jail, send them to rehabilitation, to a drug court. It had in it, that had the assault weapons ban, getting rid of assault weapons, getting rid of the number of rounds you could have in a gun. It also had in it a whole range of other things, but had things I didn't like. Clinton wanted to put in a deal where, in fact, 3 strikes and you're out. I opposed that 3 strikes and you're out bill.
Now he's just flat out lying. Joe Biden thought the 3 strikes out bill was one of the best things that he could add to the bill. You ever did something and somebody came up with a good idea and you said, oh, snap, that's a good idea. That's what happened. He didn't oppose the 3 strike. He got excited about that. When Bill Clinton came up with that, he got excited about that. Guys, you got to understand, Trump is a pathological liar. So is this guy. There's no truth. You look at his record and you find out he's probably about 10% true on his record. The record that he's spitting out does not match the actual record. All you have to do is go to Ballotpedia and you'll see the record. All you have to do is take time out. It is tedious to do, but you take time out and read stuff. You got to go through that freaking, I don't know how many pages of the crime bill was.
I oppose the position taken that saying that you're going to have any mandatory sentences. But on balance, the whole bill,
this guy's lying, man.
It did, in fact, bring down violent crime in black communities as well. And guess what?
All right, Charlamagne God, you need to push back. You need to push back. It brought down violent crime in the black community because we went from the gangs terrorizing the black community to the police department. And it's still happening today. Went from the gangs, went from the drug dealers, the hustlers. We went from them terrorizing the black community to the police terrorizing the black community. And the police actually partnering with the gangs to terrorize the black community. Because a whole lot of that was going on too.
The fact is, prison population didn't increase. 94% of every prisoner in jail is in a state prison, not a federal prison. No federal law. Now
he's going to, this guy, guys, you got to read. He said most of the heat from the crime bill came to the states. Of course. You know why? Because you gave money to the states to take the heat for it in the crime bill. This is why it is important that we as a people look up these people's record, look up the bills that they signed, look at what's in the bill. This is a must. It's these blindly voting that hurts us as a people. So I understand why this guy got picked by black people, mainly because Barack Obama. And number 2, they actually believe Barack Obama is going to be advising this guy. Same thing with Hillary Clinton. They thought Bill Clinton was going to be advising Hillary Clinton. You know, man, Hillary Clinton is way 10 times stronger than Bill Clinton. He ain't advising her. If anything, she advised him through his presidency. I mean, I have no love for her, but she's smart and intelligent, and she was the wheels behind that presidency, not Bill Clinton. That's why she always looked for a career herself in this thing. No Bill Clinton advising her. She's way smarter than him. Let me keep going.
And here's the deal. The one thing I opposed in that bill was people wanting to give money to state prisons to build more prisons. I opposed it. But the point...
Got a question. Why is Joe acting like he's somebody's daddy in this video? I'm noticing now, other videos, he's not trying to dominate. He's not trying to put his foot forward. He's not trying to be as dominant and stern in other videos. He's humble. He's quiet, especially with that video with Mika until, Mika started hitting him with all those questions about Tara Reid. But when you get in the black environment, you're a little more dominant, bruh. You're a little more aggressive. Same thing with Trump. Get in the black area, you want to be dominant and aggressive. There's a reason for that.
The point was, on balance, everything from the assault women's ban to the violence against women ban to the drug courts, they were important. And now look what we can do. Look, I've been pushing along with my colleagues in a black caucus in the United States Congress. We should change the entire, and I've been doing this for a while, change the entire prison system from one that is punishment to rehabilitation. There's only a couple things everybody has in common in jail. One is they were the victims of abuse, or their kids were, or their mother was.
Now he's going to go into the psychology of prisoners and how he can fix it. It's just like when he said, I'm going to tell you how, how black women need to be when it comes to raising their kids. You can't do that, man. Stop. You can't tell a black woman how to raise her child. But he definitely tries his best. Dude, you can't talk about how to raise nobody's child when 2 of your kids was doped up on coke. One got kicked out of the Navy for snorting cocaine. One left his wife and got caught up in a scandal with Ashley Madison. So you can't go around talking about how to raise your kids.
Number 2, can't read. Number 3, they don't have any job skills. They were in a position where they didn't get a chance.
Now he's saying most of the guys in prison can't read. It's a lot of men in prison that can read. Matter of fact, that's what all they do in prison. Well, they used to until, Dumbo trying to make it hard for people to get education in prison. But some of the most highly educated men either are in prison or got educated in prison.
Why does it make sense? Why did I come along and write the first act that said when you get out of prison, you don't just get a notion where you get $25 in a bus ticket. You end up under the bridge. And just do the same place. So every single solitary person being released from prison should have access
know
to
this guy
every
making this stuff
single
up.
government program. Why does it not make sense to have African Americans who are getting out of prison who serve their time, everybody for that matter, be able to have public housing? Why doesn't it make sense that they can have Pell Grants to go to school?
Oh boy, I can't take, when you know people's records and you hear them lie, you got to kind of hold back, because if you don't know their record, you would actually believe that they did this stuff. Joe Biden fought so hard for to lessen the Pell Grants. He fought so hard to stop people from being able to moderate their student loans. He fought hard against student debt cancellation. And now all of a sudden, that's why I tell you, you got to check these people's record, man. Because if you don't know, they can say anything out there behind and you'll believe it.
Why doesn't it make sense they can have access to health care? What are we, nuts?
I agree.
Why do it make sense that they can have access to health care? Look, again, the Affordable Care Act, what we call Obamacare, is better than the current system that we had. I agree. But Obama got that from Mitt Romney because he knew that in order to push Medicare for all, he's going to have to offend his couple of buddies in the Republican Party. He didn't have that many. Republican parties hate his guts, just like the Democratic Party hate Trump guts. But yet when it can't come time to doing something that they both like, they'll come together. So Barack Obama went and got Affordable Care Act, which is Romney Care, and decided to find a way to go national. When most of the people in the Democratic Party said we got the majority after the first election, and when you have the majority, that's when you press through the most important legislation to your community, to your base. Now, hate Trump all you want, bad policies, but the policies that his supporters, the numbnuts supporters of him, let me stop that. Not all of them numbnuts, but there's a few, just like on the other side. Well, he pushed forth a few of those policies when they had the Senate, House, and the Senate. Got a lot of those policies that the people voted for him for into legislation and passed it. But just like in 2012, just like in 2018, he passed it through instead of pushing Medicare for all right then and there. If he would have pushed Medicare for all and got that passed, we would never, the Medicare for all program would have been such a success to Republicans and Democrats, we would cut your head off if you try to cancel that program. But for political favors, trying to show yourself a person that able to work with the left and the right, you forget what you're really supposed to be doing. Now, Joe Biden opt out to get Obama to do Romney Care to appease to his Republican buddies. Now you got to understand their level of politics is pretty much Republican. Joe Biden is not even a center Democrat no more. He's a right-wing Democrat. He's a Joe Manchin. Barack Obama even admitted that his policies were pretty much would have made Reagan proud. So no, he didn't push what the black people really could have used. The black people really could have used Medicare for all, just like any color could use Medicare for all. Because we're tired of going in debt. We don't have that much as it is because of a racist system. What little we get anytime we sick, that get taken because of bills. Now he's trying to say he fought for that.
We keep doing.
Yeah, sorry. That's our time there.
No, I'm sorry. I know Jill has to use.
Now, this is Joe's, studio person. Charlemagne probably asked him 3 questions in this whole interview. Not enough questions. And Joe Biden pretty much talked over those questions. Joe Biden pretty much got away from them questions. I don't think there's one question that he answered out of those 3. Because all he talked about is what he did in the past, not what he's doing now. Now, and it's okay to talk about what a person did in the past, but they need to talk about what they're going to do now, what they're going to do in the future, specifically what they're going to do for your community. At the same time, you as a voter are supposed to go check and see what he's saying is really true. Now, because these 3 weak questions with no follow-up questions kind of got Joe excited, she's trying to cut the conversation off. And why Charlemagne get upset about that? And I don't blame him.
But I talk too much. I apologize.
No,
See, even Joe admitted he talked too much and he apologized. You never even answered the question, man. But that's what politicians do.
I gotta ask you though, why so much resistance on admitting the crime bill and other legislation you are a part of was damaging to the black community? Because we had Hillary on a few years ago, and Miss Clinton said that the crime bill, we made a lot of mistakes with that, and she wanted to atone for that by becoming the next president. Like,
she was wrong.
See, look, I'm sorry. Now, Charlemagne God say, why are you pressing back on that crime bill? Just admit you were wrong. Stop trying to defend that crime bill. That crime bill really, really did a lot to the black community. And that's why it's kind of hard to understand as a black man, either going to school in the 90s, or if you're a teenager or a black man in the 90s, especially places like New York, LA, down South Florida, where I was from, Virginia. We felt the effects of that crime bill because it seemed like it was designed to target us. And it was. Once you read the legislation, you will see it was exactly designed to target us. It wasn't designed to target white kids. Black kids had white people scared of us. I couldn't even go to the mall and get out my car and walk into the mall door without white people locking their doors because they were so afraid that we black men were going to do something. And to this day, they're afraid of black men. And I don't care if you're educated. I don't care if you're on the police force. If you're out of uniform, you could be the next victim of police brutality because of that. Now, police brutality always exists, but it was incentivized in that crime bill. And he's trying to not admit how wrong it was. Hillary Clinton came on the Breakfast Club and said, hey, yeah, there was a lot of flaws. She know because she championed that bill too. There was a lot of flaws. She said, I'm running to fix that, to make up for it. Here's Joe Biden. He's asked the same question. Why you won't just admit that was a horrible bill? Here he is saying Hillary Clinton was wrong. Hillary Clinton was wrong. Now, I don't believe she really wanted to atone for that, but you say what you got to say to get the vote, right? He's saying she's wrong. Let me go back.
I gotta ask you though, why so much resistance on admitting the crime bill and other legislation you are a part of was damaging to the black community? Because we had Hillary on a few years ago, and Miss Clinton said that the crime bill, we made a lot of mistakes with that, and she wanted to atone for that by becoming the next president. Like,
she was wrong. What happened was it wasn't the crime bill. It was the drug legislation.
She was wrong. What happened, it wasn't the crime bill, it was the drug legislation. Well, you also had a heavy hand in developing that too, Joe. That's the one you said Republicans are weak on. They're not tough on crime. We need to be a little more tougher. Yeah, if they look like they're thugs, stop them. And if you're trying to find a reason to stop them, tell them their tail light is blown or whatever, and do whatever you can to search that car, because they don't know their rights. So you can just violate them any kind of want if they don't know them. Now black people learn their rights. You're stepping back. See, he's trying to defend this horrible racist bill. And when you try to defend racism, I can't have nothing to do with you, man.
It was the institution of mandatory minimums, which I oppose. I oppose.
So now he's trying to blame Bill Clinton. That wasn't the part. It was the institution of the mandatory minimum, which I opposed. No, you didn't oppose. You was down with the mandatory minimum. You were down with it. You made that part of your bill, bruh. You made that part of your bill. So stop playing the blame game. Hillary Clinton admitted, even though I don't know if she was really sincere about it, but she admitted that crime bill was wrong. We were wrong on the crime bill. We got it wrong and we need to change it. And here you are saying, no, it wasn't a crime bill. The crime bill was perfect. It was the mandatory minimum. Get out of here with this stuff. See, this man brutalized us and don't even want to admit it and repent for it.
I thought you was a part of that in '84 as well, the Comprehensive Crime Control Act.
Yes,
that established mandatory minimum sentences for drug offenses.
No. What happened was what you're confusing is
see, Charlamagne pushed back on him. I'll give him his props for that. I thought you were involved in that. Now he's gonna try to squeeze and snake his way out of that. Charlamagne God know that man was involved in that. That's why he's putting it in their face and he's squeezing. And then now what's going to happen is this lady who set this interview up with Charlamagne the God and Vice President Biden is going to try to hurry up and cut this off because the questions are getting a little too hard. It's not hard enough. Charlamagne God can come a little harder with those questions, bro. I mean, you know, it ain't quite softball, but it is a little bit of tennis balls. You know, same size, but it don't hurt as hard.
But what happened was the Black Caucus.
Oh, he went. Did Joe Biden say what happened was? Oh, man. What happened was, you know, people say that when they know they ain't got no answer for it. Man, let me hurry up with y'all. I got to wash these dishes, man. Joe Biden said what happened was.
Came to me and said, look, I did this study when I was chairman of the Judiciary Committee. We looked at every district of the 10 court districts in America, federal court districts.
I can't with this ringing around a rosy around the question, man. And Charlamagne God's throwing these tennis ball questions. Like I said, not as soft. Can sting a little bit, but it won't put a lump on your head. He's not going to come back without. Joe Biden's going to do what politicians do. All of them do it. I'm not answering that question. I'm going to take you around a journey until we go to the next question or our interview is done.
And we found out that if you got...
Or I'm just going to flat out lie.
...arrested for robbery and convicted, and I got arrested for robbery and convicted, it was the first time, you went to jail an average of 13 years. I went to jail an average of 3 years. So there was this whole move.
Please don't. Oh God, man, don't do this, man. Cause here you are, black people went to jail and got a 99% harsher sentence than white people, all because they were dealing with cocaine in their neighborhood. If anything, a little bit of, crack cocaine. When the white guy was getting hard powder cocaine in uptown Manhattan, the people in the Bronx who were dealing crack, they went to jail almost 10 years longer than the average white person who get caught with coke. You get 1 to 3 years with coke, you get 10 to 13 for crack cocaine for the same freaking substance. Just one is cooked with baking soda and one is not. Joe Biden's policy. looking out for the white guy, but brutalizing the black guy.
Same time for the same crime. So no one based on their color could go to jail longer than anybody else for the same crime.
Mind you, let me tell you this story real quick. I went to the store in Virginia and went and got me a old E. Old English. Back then I drank beer. I took my beer and sat on my porch to drink my beer. Now here come my boy Chuck going in the store. Yo, Rob, man, I'm going to get me a beer. I'll come sit with you a little bit. Chuck goes in, get his beer, but he's talking to Stanley. Stanley standing on the corner talking to Chuck. Chuck didn't go in there with Stanley. Stanley was already in there. All right, Chuck stand next to Stanley. Stanley got some weed in his pocket. They arrest Chuck and Stanley. Chuck had nothing to do with Stanley. Stanley got 5 years for not only possession of weed, not only for the use of weed, not only for drug, because they like to stack them up on us. They don't do that to a lot of white people. They stack up various low crime and bundle it up into one big crime. But here is Chuck, who had nothing to do with Stanley, no drugs in his pocket. He get the same thing. So for him to talk about different sentences, bro, you got to be convicted of having that stuff. Chuck didn't have it. He just happened to see somebody we know, Stanley. Now, had I been in the store and I see Stanley, I say, yo, what's up, Stanley? And give Stanley a pound and go back to sit on my porch. If the police pulled up in front of all three, I would have been went to jail for that time too. So these policies were a little harder on the black community than it was on the white community. I had nothing to do with Stanley. Chuck had nothing to do with it, but he went and got the same time as Stanley. Why? Because of the private prison system that came as a result of Joe Bill's crime bill. There was a new industry taking over the land. It's called a private prison system, which is really pretty much a 21st century slavery, where we filled the regional jails, the local jails, and the state penitentiaries to the point where we had nowhere to house these new prisoners coming in because they was coming in too fast. And the reason they were coming in too fast because they were getting arrested for some dumb stuff they ain't had nothing to do with it. Now we got to move these guys to a private prison. And in the private prison is a plantation. You're going to work your butt off for pennies for $1. Or you might work for nothing at all. And a lot of these corporations have contract with these private prisons to do various works for them. And guess who profited off that? Guess who has stock in that? Half of the Republicans and half of the Democrats, including Joe Biden and the Clintons. Now, Obama didn't have nothing to do with that because Obama wasn't even, he was still a community organizer. But this is stuff that's been going on for 10, 20, 30, 40 years that both the left and the right has been profiting off black pain and using their bills to increase the pain on black people. And now they want to lead. Neither one of these turkeys need to be running for office. But you figure you got to pick to choose between the one, and that's your choice, not me. Screw them both. They both can go to hell in a handbasket to me because I know who they are.
So what happened was there was a judicial selection committee setting up that how you deal with making sure that the sentencing process is taken out of the hands of prosecutors.
Go check that, people.
Want 12 years,
go
13
check
years
it.
For you and 3 years for me. The end result of that was the unintended consequence, which we changed, Barack and I did, was the fact that you, in fact, all of a sudden, you could not.
It's funny. As VP, you usually don't do nothing. What did Al Gore do with Clinton? Nobody knows about Al Gore and what he did with Clinton. And Al Gore never took credit for what Clinton did. What did Cheney? Well, Cheney actually ran the Bush administration. Bush was really the vice president. But you look at all the vice presidents in history, He loves to tout about what him and Barack Obama did, and most of the time, he just was the man whose name got signed on the thing. He didn't do anything for that. But he has to bring that up because he's trying to continue to tie himself with the legacy of Barack Obama. And now he's thinking he's doing better than Barack Obama. He's going to do better than Barack Obama. Really? Really?
Lower my sentence or your sentence be lower than what was the average sentence for everybody else going to jail in the districts. That's how that came about. It didn't say mandatory. We said to the judges, you can't send people to jail for the same crime different times. They have to be within a framework. That's why that has been changed. And while I was vice president,
it's recently changed. I don't know if it went through all the states, and that was I think that was in 2014. Why do you wait 30, 40 years to even attempt to change it? Should have been changing it a long time ago. You shouldn't have never instituted that in the first place. Well, maybe Barack Obama tell him, look, Joe, look at her, Joe. We got to change that, Joe. We got to change it. And I'm going to change it. But like I said, folks, whenever these politicians tell you what they did, you better go find out if it's true. Because most of these suckers are lying snakes. Their tongue go faster than the snake's tongue. And you cannot trust, well, Democrats won't lie to us. They'll lie to you just as fast as Republicans. Get out of here with that stuff. All of them lie to you. Politics mean many bloodsuckers. There's very rarely a few that's going to tell you the freaking truth. And they'll do anything to get that vote. Anything but give you what you want. If you tell them, look, I'm not voting for you until you do this and this and that, they're going to start hemming and hawing. You ain't going to vote for me. And that's what we're about to find out at the end of this interview.
I helped Barack. We reduced the prison population federally by 38,000 people. 38,000 people.
Reduce the prison population because Barack Obama did one good thing. Of course, you're going to try to take credit for it too, and you had nothing to do with it. Barack Obama decided to deal with the marijuana in a lot of states, and a lot of people got released because of that. Thank you, Barack Obama. Now the thing is, for the people who got incarcerated for doing business with marijuana legislation, what are you going to do to help them continue to do business since a lot of states are going legal with this thing? Are you going to help black people lead in the marijuana industry? Or are you going to let Wall Street take over like Obama planned on doing?
And the only mandatory was in there was carjacking, which I opposed, and 3 strikes and you're out, which is ridiculous.
Oh, God, I can't, man. I can't. This guy's lying. He said the only mandatory minimum I oppose was carjacking. Okay, you're going to do a mandatory sentence on a person who's still a pack of steak for the 3rd time. Strike 3, he's out. He's gonna earn, even, I don't care how good he does in prison. I don't care if he's a model citizen. I don't care if he found Jesus and start leading prayer and start getting a good education, start working on a law degree. You're still going to make him serve his 10 years. But you're going to say you fought for the person who carjacked for him not to do his mandatory sentence. Man, I can't with these politicians, man. The more I listen to these politicians, the more I hate their guts, man.
It only was imposed 3 times, but still, even once makes no sense. The idea of 3 strikes and you're out. Give me a break. And the other thing we have to do.
Jeez, man, stop. He's going to sit here and lie to the American public, especially black America, because the Breakfast Club is predominantly black American and Latinos, the people who got hit with that crime bill, to deflect his responsibility. This dude created the crime bill. He said it is his baby. He said he woke up and spent plenty of nights developing this crime bill. He would never down talk this crime bill. What he's going to do is shift blame on everybody else in the Democratic Party. He's not shifting the blame on Chuck Grassley and all those other numbers on the right, on right that helped them with some of these policies. It was the Republicans that helped them with this bill and Republican lightweight Democrats. It wasn't the moderates. It wasn't the extreme left. They pretty much went against this. That's why I get on. That's why I get on Bernie Sanders behind for signing that mess and using a lame excuse. Well, I needed money for the women who were being abused in Vermont. Then you're a senator. Why don't you get that through your governor? There's still no excuse for you signing that bill when you went on the Senate floor. It's on video. Go look it up on Google, on YouTube. He went on the Senate floor talking about how this is going to hurt the black community after he signed it. After he signed it. And he tried to put an amendment in there. After he signed it. You signed the bill knowing it's going to hurt the black community. Then you're going to talk about how hard it's going to devastate the black community on the Senate floor. And how you want them to put an amendment in it. You shouldn't have signed it in the first place. If you want money for the Violence Against Women Act, you could have did it yourself. Come up with your own bill and shame anyone who don't sign it. I tell you, man. I tell you. This bill was the perfect bill to bring right wings and Democrats together. Because at that time, they both loathed the black community, including black political leaders. And it's kind of hard, if you didn't really get off your high horse and put yourself on the level of the community, it probably would be easy because you're on your high horse now. You're looking down at the black community and you're doing it with the ooh look. You know the ooh look? This guy's sitting up here lying, man, out through his teeth, man. And I'm looking at Charlamagne's face and I'm saying, okay, I ain't buying none of this stuff you're saying, but okay, Joe, whatever. Now we know if Trump go up there and talk like this, we know he lying. But this is one thing I can say about Trump. He didn't develop one of the worst racist bills in U.S. history. He can. He get elected, he probably will. If he had a Republican Senate and a Republican House, he probably will. This guy have. And he is showing that he's not repentant. He's showing he's not going to take it back. And he's pushing the blame on everybody but himself right in this freaking interview. That is not a person who's repentant. So oh God.
One of the things that, I was a public defender. I'm going to insist when I'm president that a federal public defender gets paid the same amount of money as a federal prosecutor gets paid. So you have representation. People have representation. But the bottom line is, the other piece is, I'm going to try to change, and I've laid it out. I'll send you a copy of my plan so you have it to see it.
Voice?
Pardon me?
What, Deliver Every Voice or what?
No, the plan I have is
Now, Charlamagne mentioned Lift Every Voice plan, the so-called black agenda from Joe Biden. Well, I did a 3-part series on that. Go take a look at that. It ain't a black agenda. It's a minority agenda. It includes everybody, and we always end up with the lower end of it. Okay. We need something that's exclusively for us. We don't need to be sharing our money that we need to start our own business, to deal with our own schools and stuff like that. We don't need to be sharing that with Latinos. And I'm sorry, Latino brothers, if it's a black agenda, it's a black agenda. I mean, we got black Latinos, but you know what I'm talking about. ADOS, stuff like that. Asians and Jewish and all that, because they get what they want. Most of them people get what they want way before what they get. Even the gay community get what they want. Quicker than what we do, what we get.
Manifesto for Black America.
He's going to come up with a manifesto for Black America. I can't with this guy. I'm so glad I went over this stuff, man. It's so much bull crap coming out.
And particularly the portion of it that relates to how, in fact, we're going to deal with the prison system. If you are in prison, if you are convicted of a crime, no one should be going to jail for drug crime, period.
All right, Joe, now you really lying out your teeth. He's trying to say nobody should go to jail for a drug crime. What the? Now you lose. Now you're losing your head. Number one, why are you talking to us about drug crime? White people do drug crimes too. But you're trying to say no one should go to jail for a drug crime? I can understand you saying nobody can go to jail for drug use. Because once you get hooked on drugs, you don't control it no more. It controls you sometimes. You can try, but you can't. And it can tell you to do silly things and make you do silly things. But for you to say no one should go to jail for drug crime, I could see you saying nobody should go to jail for selling marijuana because the laws are changing. Marijuana is more like it's not a controlled substance. It's actually a natural resource from the earth. Nobody should go to jail for it, and it should be allowed to be used to make money off of it. But for you to say that you're going to come up with something where nobody should go to jail for drug crimes. All right, let me let you talk some more and explain yourself.
Nobody. No matter what the crime, particularly marijuana, which makes no sense for people to go to jail. They should be just wiped out completely. And the reason is that, if anything, for those crimes that are actually continue to be crimes, scheduled crimes, as marijuana shouldn't be anymore, what is happening is you shouldn't go to prison. You should go to a mandatory rehabilitation.
So I think he just messed up. He didn't know what he was saying. Because you don't go to rehabilitation for selling drugs or committing a drug crime. You only go if you're a drug addict or a drug user. Now, like I said, the drugs can make you do something and you do need rehabilitation. But he sat here and said nobody should go to jail for a drug crime. So that means if I sell drugs and it's a crime in that state, I go to jail for it, you believe I should be released, no matter what the drug is.
It costs less to put people in a drug rehabilitation program than it does in jail.
Now, what I want you guys to do, since he said that, go back and look at Joe Biden's Senate speech as he was pushing the crime bill and explaining why everybody should vote for it. You're going to hear him talk about rehabilitation, because he is the very one who said that forget rehabilitation, lock them up. Rehabilitation ain't what should happen right now. Lock them up. We'll worry about rehabilitating them later. That's his quote. Take some time out. I may put a snippet in this video, may not. Take some time out and look it up yourself. You guys got to get used to looking up this information to see if it's true. Because I could tell you it's not true and you're not going to believe me. Because you think I don't like Biden. I don't like Biden because of his record. Just like I don't like Trump because of his record. And I ain't got to like either one of them. And I ain't got to pick either one of them. You want to? That's fine. I got something bigger in me. I'm not the most moral man, but I got a moral obligation to not put somebody in an office like that that's going to lie like he's doing now, Trump and him, racist past or racist present, bigot, and rape allegations. Neither one of these fools should be running for office, and the reason they feeling free to run for office is because nobody's telling them to step down. The Republicans not telling Trump he can't run this year, and they can, and the Democrats not doing Joe. And there's other people who can do the job just as good as Joe, if not better. Just like there's other people on the job on the right that could do it just as good, if not better than Trump. In my book, all of them could do better than both of them.
And you have a chance. We got to give people a chance.
You know, Vice President Biden, I've read some of your Black agenda, and you say that you would decriminalize marijuana. What's the difference between legalizing it and decriminalizing it?
Because they're trying to find out whether or not there is any impact on the use of marijuana, not in leading you to other drugs, but what it affects. Does it affect long-term development of the brain?
Now, Charlamagne asked him the question. You say you'll decriminalize marijuana, but why you won't legalize it? Because I'm still, Republican talking point, studies show that it still may affect your brain long term. When studies showing that marijuana can help with a whole lot of health benefits. You don't have to smoke it. And you can go in business and make big money without smoking it. But a lot of people do use it to smoke. It helps with epilepsy. It helps with your cataracts. It helps with inflammation. It has a whole bunch of health benefits. So why are you decriminalizing it but won't legalize it? They're not going to look, folks. They're not going to these white politicians ain't going to legalize most of these things until they figure they can personally, as politicians, make money off of it. They'll listen to their lobbyists until they can make money off. Why do you think John Boehner, who was against marijuana legislation, now is a marijuana lobbyist? John Boehner, the old Speaker of the House that Nancy Pelosi took over for. Well, Nancy didn't take over for him. Nancy took over because, the Republican lost the House. But at that time, Paul Ryan took over for John Boehner. But John Boehner is a marijuana lobbyist. So, Joe, go talk to your homeboy, your fellow Republican, John Boehner, and he'll tell you why we need to decriminalize and legalize marijuana.
And we should wait till the studies are done. I think science matters.
There's same talking point. Same talking point for COVID. Same talking point for reparation. We need to do some studies. That is just a sign of delay.
I think we got decades and decades of studies from actual weed smokers, though.
Yeah, I do. I know a lot of weed smokers.
I want to ask like your President Barack Obama used to smoke weed. All right, so ask him. It didn't do anything to him. He's smart. He's intelligent.
You about your running mate. I don't know if you saw. Well, I saw the day that a news report broke that Amy Klobuchar was being vetted, and a lot of people on social media, they're not too happy about that. And it's because they want your running mate to be a black woman. I don't know if you saw the op-ed in the Washington Post.
Now, this is the part that excuse me. I got to get used to this microphone. This is the part that pissed me off. Having a black woman as VP is good. A good look. But if she don't know what the heck she's doing, she don't need to be VP. I don't care what color she is. If you're going to pick a woman VP, make sure she's up for the job, because Joe may not make it 2-4 years. The guy's up there. He's up there. And I said the same thing about Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders, he's lucky to do 2 to 4. He need to have a strong VP. I don't care about color, because you can have somebody that's of color and weak and wouldn't know what to do if they become president. Bad enough we got Trump, a person who never been in politics, the president. We don't need somebody who don't know what they need to do to be Joe Biden VP. But they keep pushing this black thing. Why would Joe Biden have a incentive to pick a black woman when y'all done told him that he got your vote? See, this is what happened when you say, if you do not give us this, we ain't voting for you. How about a black VP? No black VP that knows what they're doing? No vote. Here's my suggestion for VP. But once you've shown your allegiance and your support, you cannot make a demand. You gave up your power. Look, and the bottom line is, you may deep in your heart know that you're going to vote for Joe, but you ain't got to let him know that. And you ain't got to let other people know that. Because you give away your strength. You give away your power. You should always keep them wondering. Always keep them wondering. Right now, Joe Biden has no incentive to listen to anybody tell him who to pick for a VP, especially from the black community. Why? Because the black community has rest assured Joe that they're going to support him in the high 90s. Like I said, even if you do, you never let nobody know that they can count on your vote until they earn it. Once they earn it, they can get it. You ain't earned my vote because you was Barack Obama VP. That doesn't do it. I need to see some tangibles. I need tangibles. Because the whole 8 years, he ain't do nothing. But give us some kind of good representation, and that ain't enough. Need some tangibles. And I ask this from everybody running for office.
By some of the leading black women voices in this country, and they feel since black women are such a loyal voting bloc and black people saved your political life in the primaries this year, they have things they want from you, and one of them is a black woman running mate. What do you say to them?
Well,
now, Charlemagne, you admitted what I meant to. Joe Biden talked about how the black people carried him his whole career. And then you push back and saying, why don't you just give him a black VP? Bruh. A black VP is not going to lift up the black community just like a black president then lift up the black community. What you need to be asking him for those years of vote is give him something that the black community need the most. Not just education, not just money, but there's disparities and there's gaps that need to be closed. And Joe need to know about it if you don't know about it already. You talking about a freaking vice president? Get out of here with that stuff, man. Your priorities is wrong when it comes to paying back the black community. White people think they did us a favor and everything is peachy keen since we got our black president. It ain't peachy keen.
I say to them is that I'm not acknowledging anybody who is being considered, but I guarantee you there are multiple black women being considered. Multiple.
Well,
Thanks so much. That's really our time. I apologize.
See, gonna cut them up. There's multiple people being considered. But how come you didn't mention them?
You can't do that to black media.
I can't do that to white media and black media because my wife.
All right, so here's the racism coming out. Charlemagne the God said you can't do that to black media. Black media is something that we don't have much. White media dominate. They dominate everything. So Joe Biden said you can't do that to white media and black media. I can't believe he just said that.
Wife has to go on at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Oh, I'm in trouble.
Listen, you got to come see us when you come to New York, VP Biden.
I will.
It's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
Now, here you go. If you can't figure out whether you're for me or Trump, then you are black. You're not black. You're not black. Bruh, I can go vote for Trump, which I'm not. At the end of the day, I'm blacker than black, and I'm going to go through the same black issues, and you being president is not going to help because you exacerbated those black issues that I'm going through. So stop with that mess, Joe. Stop. I'm a black man that's not voting for neither one of you. Why? Because I know both of you. I know both of you are bigots. And I'm not fooled.
Don't have nothing to do with Trump. It has to do with the fact I want something for my community. I would love to see.
Take a look at my record, man.
Here you go again. Charlemagne the God said, ain't got nothing to do with Trump. And that's my thing. Why get the Trump? The reason that Joe is getting this push because people Trump has done so much is such a dumb, unexperienced president in multiple areas. Some areas he's okay. Most areas he's not. That they figure anything is better than him. A snail is better than him. Really? Do you know what the hell you're talking about? A snail? A cockroach? Are you serious? Well, Joe Biden, have you seen Joe Biden's record? And you see how much a bully Joe Biden can be? He's just as much as a bully as Trump. He just haven't been put in a position to bully around lately. But you can see him on the campaign trail bullying around people. I told you my stand on Joe Biden. Joe Biden is smarter than Trump. He can legislate better than Trump. He can get the Republicans and Democrats on his side because Republicans been knowing these Republicans in office right now has a longer term, better relationship with Joe Biden than Trump could ever have with them. And deep down inside, those Republicans would rather do business with Biden than Trump. The only people that really support Trump is the voters. Most of those people that's in the White House right now or on Capitol Hill right now only support Trump because they fear Trump not having Trump base. See, they know Trump base will pretty much follow him to the T. They're 95% excited about voting for him again. Joe Biden's base is 42% excited about voting for him. That's scary. And the only way Trump can really lose this election is because he done fouled up on this particular mess right here when it comes to COVID. And Joe is right. He can just sit back and relax and let Donald Trump hang himself. And as long as he don't mess up like he did today, he gonna win by a landslide. But let's say he do win by a landslide and he's in office. You think anything's gonna get better? Okay, go look at Joe Biden's record and tell me he ain't gonna do that. See, the most dangerous thing in the world is a man who have inside him white supremacy views. You may not see it right away, but he have in it, and he has the ability to get the left and the right to do what he want. Barack Obama didn't have that. Bill Clinton had that. And the reason Bill Clinton, even though Bill Clinton was good economically, Bill Clinton the one signed the crime bill. He's the one signed a whole bunch of laws that really hurt the black community. But we know Bill Clinton as the man who gave us jobs. Jobs was at a all-time high. People was making money. So we were deflected from the pains of what's going on in the streets. One thing we know for sure, go look at Joe Biden's record, and they have not been one stellar vote or policy that lift up the people in his record. But you'll see plenty of stuff that hurt certain communities in his record. That's why I say I'm like Charlemagne the God. Don't tell me about your record, man, when I ask you what you're going to do for your community. I've seen your record. What are you going to do for my community? I know what you did for my community. Nothing when you talk about your record. You hurt my community with your record. But let's say I'm forgiving and I can move forward with you because I don't want Trump in office. Tell me what you're going to do for my people this day forward. He goes back to his record. Don't talk about your record, Joe. Because once people look at your record, they're going to realize you are just Trump's little brother that smiles a lot but don't act up as much as Trump. So stop telling people to look at your record. Stick with, now, again, he don't have to do this because we, the black community, pretty much gave him our loyal support. So he has no reason to talk about what he's going to do, Charlemagne the God. So you can ask him this question all day. He don't have no real reason to give you any substantive answers for those questions. That's why, let me go back. He's going to ask him, Joe Biden, what are you going to do for the black community? And then Joe Biden going to deflect him and say, look at my record. That's not answering the question, man. That's not answering the question. And the lady who hosts the interview going to cut it off. So, because they don't want Charlemagne to press him anymore.
It's a long way until November. We got more questions
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
It don't have nothing to do with Trump. It has to do with the fact I want something for my community. I would love to see.
Take a look at my record, man. I extended the voting rights 25 years.
Take a look at my record. I extended the voting rights 25 years. Yeah, because you spent 25 years. Let me stop, man. Let me stop. Joe Biden, in order to this is legislative policy. You got a black community that's putting you over in 95%. You got to do whatever you can to not upset them. You got their vote, but you got to do something not to upset them. That is going halfway for the black community. You're not going to do nothing to excite them. You're only going to do something to not upset them. So you fighting for the voting rights for Delaware, for the United States, to appease toward the black community is something you're supposed to do. Because if you don't do it, you become an enemy to black people and you won't get vote. So it's something you're supposed to do. Kudos on you. But the question Charlamagne asks you is, what are you going to do for black people? Don't even mention what you did in the past. Talk about what you're going to do in the future.
I have a record that is second to none.
A record second to none.
NAACP's endorsed me every time I've run.
He mentioned the NAACP. You really, really want to trust the NAACP? They're nothing but a bunch of Democratic hacks too. The Urban League, Democratic hacks. Al Sharpton organization, Democratic hacks. I get on them just like I get on the right when it comes to the different organizations on the right, especially the religious organization. I get on them too, because they're a bunch of hacks. They all supporting Trump. Hacks. I don't need hacks. They don't even want to call out their own party when they're wrong. Now I'm almost done. What we're going to do before I close out is Simone Sanders used to be Bernie Sanders' press secretary, and Nina Turner took over a spotlight, so she lost the spotlight to Nina Turner. So this year, she decides to work for Joe Biden, and boy, do she go in! I want y'all to see something real quick. Give me a moment.
Come on, take a look at the record.
All right.
See, Joe Biden keeps saying, come on, man, take a look at the record. Joe, that is the worst advice you can ever tell anybody. Because once they look in your record, they'll wake up to who you really are. That's what happened to me, man. That's what happened to me concerning a lot of politicians. I liked them from face value. I'm like, oh, man, they're great. Look at them. Then when I looked at the record, I was like, oh, no, heck no. Heck no. You actually allowed these people to go double tap and kill innocent women and kids in the name of trying to get one terrorist? It was okay for you? Well, we tortured some folks. Yeah, you did a little more than torture some folks. You killed innocent kids on a bus claiming there was one terrorist on the bus. So you're going to kill all those kids on that bus to try to take out that one terrorist. Well, we tortured some folks. See, that's what happened when you check the record. Ambulance pick up some people that got hit by bullets, and you are okay with soldiers blowing up the ambulances. Oh, we tortured some folks. Joe Biden's worst advice is telling people to look at his record. If you want to win, stop doing that. It's just like Joe Biden telling them, look, vote for Trump, then vote for Trump. You want Medicare for all? I'm not going to give you Medicare. Vote for Trump. He actually tell people to vote for Trump, not knowing that soon there's going to be a video coming out that Trump is going to endorse that's going to have Joe Biden saying vote for him. Stop, man. Stop. I don't like neither one of you. But the thing is, if you lose this campaign, it's because you decided to be worse than Trump as a campaigner. Right now, you got a chance of winning in a landslide without my vote. You got a chance of winning in a landslide because Trump is messing up so bad. But 2 things that Trump may do may turn this thing around. I got a feeling it's going to happen. Anyway.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Anyway, thanks. I will come back.
All right.
I look forward to seeing you in person.
Okay.
All right. So Simone D. Sanders says, me looking at folks on the internet saying masks are optional. So of course, you know what I did. I said, no. This is you defending the other liar, bigot, racist, rapist, Joe Biden, covering for him, attempting to tap in his inner Trump voter shaming black people if they do not vote for him. Shame on him and shame on you. Now you know who that lady is. That's the mammy from Gone with the Wind, because that's her position for Joe Biden. She would kill somebody over Joe Biden. Remember the lady tried to run on stage to protest Joe Biden on one of the issues that hurt the environment? You know who not tackled the lady? Simone Sanders. So Simone Sanders will do anything she can to get a position in the Joe Biden administration. Here's another one. The comments made at the end of the Breakfast Club interview were in jest. In other words, Joe Biden was just joking about if you support Trump and you black, then you ain't black. Dude, it don't matter whether they support Trump or not. They're still black. Stop that. Black is not a Democratic issue, especially when the Democrats have not done nothing for black people, no more than black is a Republican issue because of abortion and things like that, which most black people don't support, especially in the deep South. No party can claim blackness, man. Get out of here. And then she gonna talk about it was in joking fun. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speak. Joe always joked around like that. But let's be clear about what VP was saying. He was making the distinction that he would put his record with African American community up against Trump any day, period. Okay, let's say he's better than Trump with the African community. Still don't take away the fact that his policies are still hurting the black community to this very day. And he is not repentant for it. But I'm going to show you a video how she's trying to cover up for Joe. But you got to understand, one of the things that mammies do on plantation is they're like the second mother to the kids on the plantation. So you know what I told her? I said, so you want people, especially blacks like me, to look at Joe Biden's record and determine who's better. I told her it does not matter if both. I told her it does not matter. I've seen the record of both. Here's one thing I know about both. Both are pathological liars. Both are bigots. Both are racist. And both are alleged rapists. That is that house Negro smooth talk working overtime to convince slaves not to seek freedom. Now I met her, so she know who I am. All right, and I also put that same mammy up there. A house Negro said to the field Negro, Master Joe is much kinder than Master Trump. The slave knows he's free now. So he said, screw Master Joe and screw Master Trump. I'm tired of this plantation BS. Freedom starts when you decide to lead the plantation. Black man, you need to run from both of these people. Yous are free. In other words, you're in a position to make them bend the knee. None of them should be in a position to make you bend the knee. Right now, we're bending the knee to the Democratic Party in the 90%. Trump will do whatever he can to lie through his butt to get at least 10% of those votes. And I'm saying, y'all need to stop bending the knee to both of these parties and make them come earn your vote. Now, here's Jonathan Capehart. You know how I feel about Jonathan Capehart. The black guy with the white husband. If that's the way you swing, that's the way you swing. But you are not attached to your community at this point. You're more attached to the gay community than the black community, Jonathan. You're doing more for the gay community, and tell me I'm wrong. Folks, please listen to all 18 minutes of Charlamagne the God's interview with Joe Biden. The conversation is direct, but it's not nearly as contentious as it's been described. Dude, I just went over the whole thing. It's worse. It's not the end of the interview that pisses me off. It's the lies that Joe Biden said throughout the whole interview, because I know his record. Here's Zelina Maxwell. I empathize so deeply with the Biden folks today. Remember Hot Sauce Gate? Now, Hot Sauce Gate was when Hillary Clinton was catering, making jokes about, this ain't Hot Sauce Gate, Zelina. Everybody know Hillary Clinton has a love for growing hot sauce, and she makes her own hot sauce. And when Charlamagne God asked her in that interview, what you got in the bag, she said, I keep a hot sauce in my bag, which is a Beyonce song. So Charlamagne said people going to say you're trying to cater to get the black vote, and she said, is it working? This ain't the same deal. Saying you're not, if you don't vote for me, you're not black, or if you have to choose between me and Trump, you're not black. That is nothing compared to I got hot sauce in my bag swag. So stop. All right, so here's Simone Sanders doing her best kiss butt concerning what happened with the way Biden talks. Here we are right now. We got Chuck Todd, MSNBC, NBC, whole stuff, Meet the Press, and Simone Sanders again. She's going to take her position as the black woman in the plantation taking care of all master's kids. She could care less about the kids in the field.
When he goes off the cuff, he seems to speak with sort of an older generation stereotype at times in some of this stuff. When you've been around him, what would be your explanation to someone who might actually... I'm not going to do this. Why does this happen? I'm not going to do this.
Now, I went online on Twitter and people were saying she really slayed Chuck Todd. No, she can't answer the questions Chuck Todd had. She's deflecting. She don't want nobody to talk about her white master. Yeah, I said it.
But I'm not going to do this, because, Chuck, I'm not going to do this, because let me just be really clear. Vice President Biden absolutely has a respect level for all people around him, for voters across this country, young people, older voters.
Hold up. Didn't Joe Biden say, I have no empathy for young people? I have no respect for young people? I got a video of that. Didn't he say that? He talking about young people want to complain about how tough they is. I don't want to even hear that. I have no empathy for them.
The younger generation now tells me how tough things are. Give me a break. No. I have no empathy for it. Give me a break.
They cry. In other words, I have no time. They're whining and complaining make me sick. But he got respect. And don't get me on black people, please, black lady.
Voters of color, black people, Latino voters, indigenous, Asian American, Pacific Islander.
The reason these people are flocking to Joe Biden in the numbers she claimed is because one person has decided to cancel their race and one person decided to cater to his friend and not go against his friend, Joe Biden. One person who running for office decided not to attack Joe Biden in areas that he's weak, decided not to bring up Joe Biden's record. That's the reason why he is in the lead right now with blacks and with Latinos and not Trump.
I'm not going to even traffic in any hypothetical conversation about if he is sensitive enough. Look, there are real issues that we have to address in this country. And Vice President Biden has been speaking directly to the voters even well before the coronavirus.
He's not speaking to most of the issues. He's dodging just like you dodging this question. So you can entertain that or not. Chuck Todd, I don't like Chuck Todd as he's another hack. But come on, Simone. These questions coming, and a lot of them going to come from the black community.
Crisis about those issues. He is going to meet people where they are. The fact that we can even talk about an interview on the Breakfast Club is because Vice President Biden went there to have that conversation. And if you watch the interview, they talk about the fact that they need to talk some more, that Charlemagne says he should come to New York.
That doesn't mean that he was supporting him. That means we still got 6 months, well, 5 months or 4 months until election time. We got plenty of time, and things can change, like today. So he do need to go to New York, and he do need to go back to the Breakfast Club. And this ain't over. You running for office, you need to tell people what are you going to do in your policies instead of talk about your record. So him saying that we're going to do it again and Charlemagne the God asked him to come back doesn't mean Charlemagne the God is riding that horse, even though he really is. Come on, Simone.
And so this isn't a question about this isn't a question about whether Vice President Biden has the sensitivities. This is truly a question about, in this race, what we have is a question about leadership, about who is ready to lead and able to lead for all Americans, but who also has a plan for those folks.
All right, so these are the questions Chuck Todd need to be asking. All right, so you don't want to answer the question about his demeanor. You don't want to answer his question about his old thinking as an old person concerning this generation and the way they operate. You don't want to answer that question. All right, since you said it's about who can lead and the policies they're pushing forth. All right, what is his policies to push forth?
Who can put their money where their mouth is, put their plans where their mouth is, and not just offer lip service.
What is his plan? Because I just went through the whole interview with Charlemagne the God, and he did not mention none of his plans. All he had was lip service, Simone. All he had was lip service. See, I'm the type of person, I interview you, I'm pushing you to get to the point because people need to hear what's in your heart. If there's nothing there, then there's nothing there. If there's something there, I'm going to help you get it out.
Service to a community. And Vice President Biden's record speaks to that. He's not offering lip service. He's offering results.
He offered lip service through that whole freaking interview. And the results of his legislative record is not good. It's not kind to our people. Sister.
And that stands in a stark contrast to what we're seeing from this White House. Look, I know President Trump and his allies like to talk a lot about their criminal justice reform efforts. They have yet to allocate 1 penny from their budget to the First Step Act. Let's put our money where our mouth is. Let's not talk about platitudes. Let's talk about the plans that we have and how we turn those plans into actionable items.
Well, let's talk about it, Simone. You got the platform. Talk about Joe's plan. Talk about it now.
Joe Biden has led when it comes to a recovery for Americans, take it back to the Recovery Act, and he will do so in the Biden recovery. And that is a recovery.
It's not a Biden Recovery Act. That was the Obama Recovery Act. It wasn't the Biden. He didn't come up with that. Barack Obama didn't even come up with that. The advisors came up with that.
That will specifically speak directly to the African American community.
This whole interview with her was a bunch of platitudes. Now, before we go, I want to go over Joe Biden's record, a little bit of the record. All right. It's simple. Since James Clyburn said we know Joe, here is some of Joe's record. On welfare, Joe advocated cuts to Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid for 40 years. Joe still to this day opposed Medicare for all. On crime and drugs, supports the death penalty. Opposed federal legalization of marijuana. He just admitted that. Wrote the 1994 crime bill that created 60 new death penalties, deployed more police officers, increased prison sentences, and built more prisons, which is responsible for the current mass incarceration crisis that disproportionately impact minorities. He criticized President George H.W. Bush's anti-drug strategy as not tough enough bold enough or imaginative enough, stating that what we need is another D-Day, not another Vietnam, not a limited war fought on the cheap. In other words, we need an ongoing war. He co-wrote the Anti-Drug Abuse Act, causing the large disparity between sentencing of crack cocaine and powder cocaine. I already talked about that. Earned a reputation for being a drug warrior, leading efforts in the war on drugs, advocating for increased use of civil asset forfeiture by law enforcement agencies, introducing the Comprehensive Forfeiture Act in 1983. On immigration, Joe Biden was opposed to the sanctuary cities during the 2007 presidential run. He was not for sanctuary cities for illegal aliens, or what you want to call immigrants, into this country. Not only that, Joe admitted on video at a Rotary Club that he tried to build a border wall. He called it fence, but a border wall. On civil rights, Joe opposed busing and was close friends with segregationists, was given a 60% approval rate from the American Civil Liberties Union, reflecting a mixed voting record on civil rights issue. Mixed. On women rights, voted for failed constitutional amendment in 1984, allowing states to overturn Roe versus Wade. Supported the Hyde Amendment from 1976 to June 15, 2019. Voted to end federal funding for abortion for victims of rape and incest in 1981. Supported a Mexican City policy. That policy blocked U.S. federal funding for non-governmental organizations that provide abortion counseling or referrals, advocating to decriminalization abortion or expanding abortion services. As chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee during the nomination of a Republican Judge Clarence Thomas, he referred to the sexual harassment accusation by Anita Hill as being he said, she said, and as a character assassination. In other words, he sided with he sided with Clarence Thomas over Anita Hill. Pretty much humiliated her. On foreign policy, championed the invasion of Iraq and was unapologetic about it for years. He was supportive of the 2011 military intervention in Libya at that time that killed Gaddafi and left people destitute to the point they got slaves in Libya now. At one time, he voted for the Defense of Marriage, voted in favor of 10 U.S.C. 65-4 in 1993, banning gay Americans from serving in the military, armed forces in any capacity without exception. On economic issues, he helped the Republicans pass the 2005 bankruptcy bill, which led to the current student debt, medical debt, and credit card debt crisis. He also voted for Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act in 1999, which deregulated the banks that in part caused the 2008 economic crash. He had close ties to credit card companies in Delaware his home career. Those credit card companies, oftentimes you will find, have Wilmington, Delaware on it. Why do credit card companies come to Delaware? Because they don't have to pay taxes. But guess who have to pay the taxes on the money that they get from the credit card companies? You. In 1979, after receiving donations from Coca-Cola, he co-sponsored legislation that helped the software drink industry skirt antitrust laws. On trade, he voted for NAFTA, voted for the PNTR, and was Obama's leading pitchman for the TPP. On privacy, he voted for the Patriot Act, which he claimed was a duplicate of his unsuccessful omnibus Counter-Terrorism Act in 1995. In 2006, CNET described him as pro-RIAA and pro-FBI in his file sharing and privacy stance. Gave him a score of 37.5 on the Senate voting record. He also sponsored a bill that would prohibit recording songs off of satellite and internet radio, and signed a letter urging the Justice Department prosecutor file sharers. In other words, you have something playing on the radio and you want to record it. He was against that at that time and wanted to prosecute you if you got caught recording music off the internet or off the airwaves. On gun rights, he voted for Firearm Owners Protection Act in 1986, which allowed firearms to be sold by mail and limited inspection of dealers while allowing them to sell at gun shows, yet he's supposed to be anti-gun. Now, I'm done. Why are you going through this? Well, this man said if you have to choose between him and Trump, you ain't black. What about if I don't choose neither one of you? And I'm not dumb enough to choose for you. I don't vote for race's biggest pathological liars with rape allegations. So are you going to tell me I'm not black because I won't vote for a Democrat or I won't vote for you? I'm not black? Well, the rest of the black people supporting us, that don't make me less black. My question is, why are black people voting for a racist, pathological liar, bigot with rape allegation on either side? Why? Why are you not calling for them to step down so you can have somebody you want to go vote for, that you're excited to vote for, that's actually going to have policies that's going to help you out? See, me, I'm calling for both of them to step down because both of them are unworthy. Both of them got they got criminal allegations against them. Criminal. And when you got criminal allegations against you, you should not be running for office. And the leading government officials on both sides should be demanding that you both step down, but they too much of a punk to do it. Thus, leaving you in a position where you feel you have to support the lesser of the bigot, rapist, pathological liar with rape allegation and racist. Not me. Joe Biden say, check my record, man. Go check his record. I gave you some of his record just now. Now, you go forward. I'd rather you go forward knowing his record and voting for him still than not knowing his record and voting for him unknowingly. Because that give you an excuse. So when everything he do that is anti-you, you can have an excuse. No, you don't have no excuse when somebody's telling you to go check his record. Joe Biden said go check his record, man. Go. The reason I won't vote for Trump, the reason I won't vote for Joe, because I know who they are. And as a black man, I am not going to put myself in a position where I'm rewarding people for being liars, for being pathological liars, for being racist, and those, both of them, have allegations. Whether it's past, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I was asked today, how come she wait to now to come out with an allegation? I say the same thing about Trump girls. All those women came out, right? All of them always come out. They always come out when it's election time. Why? I don't know, but that's just how it happens sometimes. But then again, we don't know if they didn't try to come out before then. The media are the kings of blacking out things. They don't want you to have an October surprise when it comes to their candidate that they're supporting. Fox don't want it for Trump. MSNBC don't want it for Biden. But here's the bottom line. Biden ought to be ashamed of himself that you can quote that. You have no right to say that kind of mess out of your mouth. I'm offended, upset, and you make me not even... Things just got 10 times worse when it comes between me and you. I already know who you are based on your record. Now you're going to tell me that if I don't support you, I ain't black. What give you the right to say that? You have done nothing for us for me to give you the right to say that. And the things that you claim you done, you had to do it because you had to do it because you wanted to keep your political position and your political power. It's not because it was the right thing to do. The reason the state of New York decided to push homosexuality legalization is because they needed the money. It wasn't because they believed it was the right thing to do. That kind of legislation brought so much money to the state of New York, it's ridiculous. And now everybody is flying into New York, getting their marriage license in New York and getting married in New York so New York can charge them that money to help pay for some of these needed programs that we have. Now, they promised that they were going to take that money to pay for Medicare for all. They've yet to do it. I'm done. The nerves. It wasn't the end of the video that pissed me off now. It's the constant lies in your face, hoping that you're just going to believe it because you're black and you don't check my record. Check my record, man. He assumed that we're not going to check it. The gall. The gall. I'm done. I'm Robert Brown with the Rob Report. This is 2 hours long. Good Jesus. I'm going to try to chop it up a little bit. I'll holler at you later. The hits just keep on coming. I'm not black if I don't vote for you. No, because I'm black and I know what you did to my people, I'm not voting for you.